Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. And if that's something you're interested in following along with, please don't forget to stick around and check out the other content I've created for you on this channel. Now, welcome back to another episode of Budgetmas, and I wanted to talk about how to actually start/revamp a budget. And I am in the revamping a budget category at the minute, but what I found whilst I was going through this and whilst I am going through how I'm revamping my budget is actually a lot of the core things I'm doing also applies to those people who are starting budgeting. And this is January being the time of like new year, new me, fresh starts, fresh budget, etc., etc. I find that January arrives and if I'm starting a new thing, and it would have needed like tons of prep time beforehand to start the new thing, and that's just me. But the wonderful Claire Seal, also known as My Frugal Year on Instagram and My Frugal Year on most social medias, made a really good point this week, and it kind of stuck with me a little bit, that it's like, actually, why are you waiting until January to make these new starts? Get the prep work done for it in December, start implementing the small little changes that you need to get this big thing done in December, and then you're not setting yourself up to fail, because most people fail at the new things they start at in January because of the amount of extra pressure that comes on that. And comes on the whole New Year's resolution and new year, new me, blah, 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 blah. And actually, budgeting is stressful enough without the added pressure of I must get this new budget, new me thing right. And I'm in the process of having to revamp and completely redo my budget. And it's going to be a new budget style with new budget categories, new budget amounts. And you've seen a little snapshot of that with the Budgetmas video that I've just recorded, and I think it's going to be the first one that goes out. It's where I talk about, looking at a grid and gridding out everything. But before you even do that, actually, there's another step that you need to do, and it's actually, what are your categories? So if you have, like I was, been lurking on the YouTube or the Instagram or the TikTok budgeting scene, and you're thinking that now is the time that you're ready to start your budget, and you've taken inspiration from other budgeters and you've got loads of tips and tricks, and then actually it's how do you start? This is how you don't fall at the first hurdle, because to really make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, I think personally you need to do these steps. And this is so that you're giving yourself as much of information as possible. And I say that as someone who didn't initially do these steps, so I have learnt the hard way. And this was me back when I released my first video in September of last year. And I just went, that's it, I'm ready, I'm going to go, and just did, and recorded a debt confession and hadn't prepped a budget and didn't do this legwork. And I would probably say that it took about 6 months, and then my life circumstances changed, and then the budget changed again, and I was again trying to catch up and do the legwork. So don't do what I did. So hopefully this will help you, and this will also help me as well. So you're going to need to do an awful lot of research before you really commit and put pen to paper in terms of what you think your budget is. So the first thing that you should do is to pull 3 months worth of bank statements, receipts, and if you've already been budgeting any previous budgets. 3 months provides a really, really good snapshot. And equally as well, if those 3 months includes an abnormal month like a December where you've got extra things like Christmas, or it's a birthday month for you or your partner or your children or anyone in your household, it's really good to kind of grab those as well, because it will give you an indicator of how much you're spending at those abnormal times. That's the first thing you need to do. Receipts if you've kept them, and then obviously go back through your old budgets and make a note of where you went over, under, came spot on. Next thing to do, and I want to reiterate this again, this is a notepad, a pencil and a paper. This is a basic spreadsheet, and if you don't have access to Excel or Microsoft Office, you can on your phone get Google Sheets, which is an app completely free, and it functions similarly to Excel. But if you're looking for a digital thing that's going to do your formulas and stuff for you and add everything up, before you commit to any apps or savings challenges or budget binders or budget planners or anything like that, this is like a very much a pen and pencil activity, because you will go through an awful lot of paper while you do this. You need to list out your categories, okay? Categories are also known as fixed expenses, flexible expenses, spending envelopes, budget envelopes, cash envelopes. It's food, for example, it's eating out, it's pet if you have a pet, it's childcare, it's after school clubs, it's fuel and petrol or public transport, it's your gas, your electric, your housing, your rent, your mortgage, your insurances, your car. These are your categories, okay? And these categories will be unique to you. And that is because your budget and your bank statements, all your bank statements, will very quickly tell you what your categories are. So start off with your very basic list of categories that you think there are, and then as you go through and you move on to the next step, you may find that these categories change or increase. But list out your categories, okay, as like your broad banner. And now you need to start inputting that data. So here's an example. If you're going to list the transactions, so for example, in Aldi, January 2022, you spent £100. You also spent in January 2022, you went to Tesco's and you spent £250. And in February 2022, you went to Co-op and you spent £50. For example, you will do this, as laborious as this is, you will lift this information from your bank statements. You will go through, and you know what? I recommend doing it one at a time. Find each supermarket that you shop at. Like if it's in Iceland, go find all the entries for Iceland, make a note of the time and the date, make a note of the date, the amount, then go through, and if you used BP fuel every time you went to a petrol station, and you will find that you, with a highlighter and a pen and a pencil, while this seems like quite a complex task, this is a get your head down, stick a podcast on in the background, like carve out a few hours, that's how long this is going to take, and start finding out. Because what this is then going to give you is it is going to give you your total for each category each month. So for example, in this very, very simple example here, in January, you spent £350 on food. Okay, and then in February, all you spent was £50 at the Co-op. I know this is not a realistic example, but it serves to demonstrate what I'm kind of going for here. It's going to give you that example and go, okay, right, in January and February and March, your basic food spend was £500 in January, £500 in February, but there was a birthday in March and you hosted a afternoon tea party or whatever, and your food spend was £650. So that's why you kind of need to make a note of where there are extra events, or actually you didn't you were working from home in January. You then had to commute into your place of work for like the once a month thing, or the bi-monthly, whatever things are, and therefore you had to pay extra on your travel, and then you didn't again in March. So all of this is information which is completely unique to you, and I can't sit here and do this and say that you will every month spend X amount on this, X amount on Y, and that's what your categories and your budgets are. This is a really unique set of data that you are pulling, and it's unique to you and your household. Once you've got these monthly breakdowns, you can then work out your average. And your average is really, really important, because your average is going to say that actually if you think that you should be budgeting £400 a month for food, if we go with this example, but actually you've pretty consistently spent around about £500 a month on food and your average is £475, then realistically you need to be setting your budget for food at £475. Average, for those of you who don't know how to do the maths, and I'm not a mathematician, is you add up the amount of months. So let's go with 3 as a nice round number. You add up the total for the amount of months completely. So let's say it is £1,200 is your total food spend across 3 months, and you then divide it by 3. Okay, we all happy with that maths? And in which case your monthly average would be £400. Nice easy maths, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from here. And this is why as well, tracking at outliers like Christmas and birthdays or any major kind of anniversary events and things, it's good to make a note of, because even then you can turn around and say, yep, my average is slightly higher, but do you know what, on this month I spent £150 extra because of this thing, and therefore I know for this specific thing that's a good amount for me to have as a sinking fund or to have ready for the next time it rolls around. Pulling this data is going to save you a world of pain when it comes to trying to work out what your budget categories can be, because, and I'm going to freestyle this, so just go with me here, guys, because you can then sit there and you can go, right, okay, and you've also pulled your dates, so hopefully you know what dates your bills are going to be. But if you're someone like me, it's quite hard to keep track of sometimes. But ideally, by recording the dates as well, your bank statement should show you that consistently your direct debits or your standing orders or your core bills, however they're arranged to pay, are going out on these dates, and that's good information to have as well. But ideally, when you then come to like your first budget draft, you'll be able to sit there and go, I am going to always plan for a 4-week month to start with. That's just a little tip, because to be fair, most calendar months are 4-week months. Some of you may be paid 4 weekly, some of you in America or even in the UK may be paid weekly, so you're paid every 2 weeks, and on occasion if you're getting paid the same day every month, you may have a 5-week month, but that's not every week. So plan for a 4-week month first of all, and then go through and go, okay, right, on a typical month, let's work with nice round numbers. My food is going to be 500, my travel, of which that may be, is going to be 100. Let's just make this nice and easy. My bills, I'm going to go with the bills for, let's just say bills are 1,200 total. That's mortgage, that's insurances, that's car tax, MOT, anything like that. Gas and electrics, let's just say your bills are 1,200, your travel's 100, your food is 600. Let's just say, I should know what my other categories are. What other categories would you have? Let's say personal spending is, let's just do this a really basic budget. Personal spending is going to be £100 for the month over 4 weeks. And let's just say kids, if you have kids, but to be fair, you could sub this out and put pets in my case. Let's sit there and go, okay, the kids in their after school clubs or whatever it is, let's just say with childcare, that's 200. This again, I don't have kids. Don't come at me in the comments. This is very much me guesstimating. And what you have here is a really, really basic now 4-week budget. But this is literally where you just need to start, and you just go through and you run all your numbers down, and you can sit there and go, okay, right, 500, 100, 1,200, 100 and 200, and you can sit there and go, okay, right, at a very core level, £2,100, dollars, euros, whatever is what we as a family, individual, couple need. And yes, you can refine that and you can break it down further, and you can go, okay, food is 500 a month, but I'm actually going to take £100 for household toiletries and pet food, or like kids dietary things. And yep, travel is 100, but that's like £50 for car 1, £25 for car 2 if it's a 2-car household, and it's £25 for like public transport, whatever, or parking. Your bills of that £1,200, you can say, right, well, the mortgage is 700 and this XY Z, so that's just our bills. And then spending for you, spending for me, spending for just the single person. And then you can break the kids down into like, breakfast and after school clubs is this, and a childminder or a babysitter is this, or their activities is this. So you can break these very broad categories down further, but actually as a very quick, right, what do we think we need as to have as our budget, to have as our income? Is this lining up? And this will really quickly tell you, if you pull these as averages in this theoretical budget that we're working with, this will really quickly tell you actually what you have been spending versus what you have been bringing in. It will tell you if there's a problem there, guys. Quite often If you want to work out where your money is going, because you're sitting there going, I'm bringing in, as an individual, as a household, as a partnership, we're bringing in good money, why don't we have it? Your bank and your receipts and old budgets, if you've got them, are going to tell you why. And actually, it's going to give you a truer idea. It's all very well saying, well, I'm just going to cut back on food, or I'm going to cut back on travel, or I'm going to cut back on spending. If you've done that and you are still reaching a certain amount, it may just be that actually that's what your spending category or your food category or travel category needs to be until you are settled. Because, and I'm only speaking from experience here, I'm not a financial advisor, and I am not qualified in anything like mathematics or economics. This is just me speaking from raw personal experience. It's a lot easier to start to reduce a category or to increase a category once you're actually comfortable with what your core expenditure is. So I know that every quarter, every 3 months, I'm going to spend a little bit more on my household category, because that's my cleaning products, that's my toiletries. I buy like a 48 pack of loo roll, so that's an initial outlay, but that's fine. I have a certain skin type, which means that I am a little bit limited with what I can buy, so I will stock up. I don't like running everything completely down, so I always make sure I have a very, very basic level. With regards to food, I know that at Christmas time I will spend probably £100 more on food. That will either come out of a Christmas envelope, but in the past it's just come out of my normal monthly income because I didn't have a Christmas envelope. And that's because I host siblings and cousins, and we do our own little thing on the run up to Christmas. And yeah, they bring some things, but it's nice as well for me to have some Christmas treats. I know that if I am planning to go into one of the bigger cities, then I'm going to have to pay for parking, and that's going to be probably every couple of months or so. And I know that there will be certain times of the year where I will have researched a thing that I want to buy that may be a little bit more than my spending category, but I'll make sure that I've fully researched it, and that may need to be increased for that small amount of time. Budgeting it shouldn't be a minefield, but it is definitely more behaviour based than money based, because if it was just maths, then there is enough literature out there for the maths, in theory, for everyone to get budgeting and be able to nail their budgets like first on, and the maths would be completely fine and it's all okay. But in reality, it's really easy, and again, speaking from experience, to write a budget and be like, I've done a budget, and then you just never look at it, and you never reconcile your receipts, and you don't really pay attention to whether your cash is in envelopes or in your account. And as well, you may realise through this process that actually keeping your disposable income in your in your bank account or your current account, or keeping all of your money in the current account, is a problem for you. Equally, you may find that you're not comfortable keeping cash in the house, you don't like it, it's not normal for you, you find it hard to track, and you need to be a card-based budgeter. You may be someone like me who falls a little bit in the middle, and I will work with cash for some things, and then equally, if I know I'm going to buy the thing online, I'm not even going to take it out to make a show of cash stuffing. And to be fair, that's why you don't see a lot of cash stuffings on my channel. It's because I'll have already worked out that actually I would just be withdrawing it, cash stuffing it for the sake of a video, and putting it back into the account to order the thing. I'm just going to order the thing and save time, because your first set of budgets will take time to do, and I'm not at different amounts, all changing based on my circumstances. I don't consider myself an experienced budgeter, but what I can acknowledge is that once I have a budget, a core budget template and a core set of costs, which pretty much stay the same, it's very, very easy to sit and do a budget now. And it's quicker for me to reconcile. And it's quicker, and you get into the habit of sitting down at the end of the day or the week or the month and counting up and totaling up your receipts. But as someone who's going through this revamping of a budget process, and when I then did sit down the first time I was probably going to start budgeting, This takes time. This is just as someone who is as a couple or as an individual. We're going to need to try and work this out and calculate this out. And I'm at this stage now, which is why, you know, I'm going to say it's a sodding pain that I'm being paid a week late. But you know what? This... Hi, cat. What are you doing? Why are you crawling into a carrier bag? No. Anyway. Yeah, okay. Do you want to see the guys? Do you want to see people? Okay, right. Come here. Sorry, guys. We need to have a daily cat interruption. Come on. Come on. Come see people. Don't purr under the desk by the pine cones that are on the floor. Come on. I'm going to scoop you up. No. I'm going to scoop you up. Okay, get onto the desk. There's a cat. There's a cat that's currently refusing to go for a wee, and he's making me very panicky because this is why we end up in like situation. Cat, I will be honest. Yeah, this was not going to be ready. Like, I'm still going through this process now. This budget would not have been ready by the time I needed it to be. When budget, your budget is you giving yourself permission, and free reign essentially over your money. What it shouldn't be is a restrictive tool that you fight against. Like, if you're creating a budget that you are intrinsically fighting against because you don't like what it's telling you, then you need to address what it's telling you. Don't fight it. And again, I say this from experience. If you fight your budget, where your budget is telling you that you can only do X, then you need to address why you can only do X, not go and make the situation worse. And I am only speaking from experience here, and I'm telling myself, like, I wish I had someone telling me this, because I used to get really, really angry at all my failed attempts at budgeting because I wouldn't like what it was telling me. I didn't like the fact that I didn't have enough money to do certain things. I didn't like the fact that my bills were X amount because I wasn't paying attention to my renewals and I was just going for whatever I could. I didn't like it, and rather than addressing that aspect of it, I would go and I would emotionally spend. Yeah, this is because we're talking about emotions. Is this why you're here? Okay. Therapy cat. Yeah. I didn't like it, but rather than addressing like, okay, well, maybe if I raise my income or I change my job or I look at, you know, maybe not, I think at one point I had 10 different subscriptions, maybe addressing the 10 different subscriptions, maybe then I can do the things I want to do. Budgets are like, you hold a mirror up to yourself and you go, here's what you're doing with your money. Full stop. And then it's very much on you or you and your partner or whoever to decide what you're going to do about that. And that's not the easiest thing in the world. And I do acknowledge that. And I'm very much speaking from the heart with this. And after I film this video, I'm going to go away and I'm going to work on, you know, going through my own old budgets and looking and going, okay, right, do I actually have an income problem? Because what I think my budgets are telling me is, particularly because of this little bundle of fluff, going from £60 a month, near enough every month, even with a 5-week month, to, you know, at least £200 a month, possibly £300 once I get the cost for his meds. It's going to be an income problem, particularly if you then factor in if you're on, if you're saving for a big purchase or you're trying to pay off debt. Yeah, and I don't want to be told that I've got an income problem, and I know that because it means then I'm going to have to do more things to try and raise that income, but I can't fight it. So, like, I can't fight what the numbers tell me. The numbers are just numbers. The numbers have no opinion. They just are. So, you know, and I have committed to an unhealthy cat. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah. I'm committed to an unhealthy cat, so who wants food. That's why he's here. Yeah, I hope that video is useful to anyone out there. Yes, I love you. Oh, you slow blinking. You're going to disrupt my outro. This is why I don't film with cats around, because the video derails. It was really good and like teachery, and never mind. I'm going to love you and leave you now while I just go cuddle this bundle of fluff and feed him and me. You can see where his little shaved patches are from where he's had a little vet's visit, or 3 recently, or 5. Yeah. I'm going to love you and leave you. I will catch up with you all tomorrow for another Budgetmas video. I hope you're having a fantastic budgeting week wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.